This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Kettering City Council. Today's date is March 12th, 2024. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for your abundant blessings and surrounding us with stewardship and a supportive community in Kettering. We thank you for the ability to engage in useful work and for the honor of bearing these important responsibilities. We are grateful for your boundless love for all of us. Please continue to give us the strength and compassion with which to serve, and grant us the wisdom to make appropriate decisions. Help us remain humble and grateful for the opportunity to lead. Guide this council so that we may work in harmony while serving our citizens with integrity and purpose. Allow us to fulfill the responsibilities entrusted in us by our residents. Ms. Duval has an excused absence this evening. And I would also like to recognize our Miami Valley Communication Council TV operator, Mike Soproni. Mike, thank you for your assistance. I would like to call on Mr. Sullivan at this point for a motion to approve the minutes.
Yeah, Your Honor, I have reviewed the minutes from the council meeting and the workshop minutes, and I find them in order, and I move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments?
Mrs.
Call the
Fisher.
roll.
Mrs. Fisher.
Abstain.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes.
Mrs. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Mr. Sudden.
Yes.
Mayor Lehman.
Yes. Thank you. We have no proclamations this evening, and we do have a couple of appointments to make. First of all, we have an appointment to the Sustainability Committee with Lee Isom. Lee, are you here? Nope. Well, she's hiding. This is for a term ending 12/31/26. We also have an appointment to Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Advisory Board for Frank Eckler, term ending 12/31/26. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Okay, seeing none. Congratulations to those two, and thanks for their willingness to work for our community. We do have a special presentation tonight. This is for Ohio Park and Recreation Association's Youth Sports Coach of the Year. And making this presentation will be Drew Corbett, Recreation Manager.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, and special guests. My name is Drew Corbett. I am the Recreation Manager for the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Department. It's an honor to be with you this evening to introduce you to Dan Bogan. Dan is one of the many outstanding youth volunteer coaches that we rely on to operate our successful youth sports program. Dan's coaching career began in 2016 when his father started recreational soccer. Armed with his own father's mantra that any good teacher can be a great coach, Dan eagerly took on the role despite initial doubts about his own skills and abilities. What he quickly learned is that knowledge matters far less than being present for each child. Since that initial experience, he has volunteered with over 17 teams, including soccer, basketball, and volleyball. What makes Dan a great coach is that he understands that it all starts with caring about kids. He excels at meeting players where they are, building up their confidence, and celebrating their successes. His patience and care yield results both on and off the field. He embodies the spirit of volunteerism through steadfast support across sports, seasons, and years. Dan shows that great coaching comes from the heart. Each year, the Ohio Parks and Recreation Association Annual Awards of Excellence recognize organizations throughout Ohio that embody the vision, dedication, and demonstration of excellence in parks and recreation. These awards highlight the efforts of those organizations that transcend everyday standards to make a difference and improve the quality of life in children. One of the awards is the Youth Sports Coach of the Year Award, which recognizes an outstanding youth sports coach who has positively affected youth sports and has served as a role model for athletes in their community. This year's OPRA Youth Sports Coach of the Year is Kettering's own Dan Bogan. We're grateful to have leaders like Dan in our community and ask that you join us in recognizing his many years of volunteer service and this most deserved award. Dan.
Where's the big trophy, Drew? Is there a big trophy or something? Oh, okay. Looking for the big trophy.
We're looking for the big trophy.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Oh, shake his hand. Yeah.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a quick comment if I could.
Sure.
As someone who coached youth sports for many, many years, I think that's an underappreciated part of volunteerism in Kettering. And my hat's off to you for your obvious success. And some of those kids will never know the lessons you taught them until they're adults. So well done.
Very good.
Thanks, Bob. That's so true. And having spent far too many Saturdays over the last 2 months watching basketball, volleyball, and what was the third one you were doing?
Soccer.
Soccer. Yeah.
I'm actually now coach T-ball and wrestling as well. So
Oh my God. There's only so many hours in the day.
yes.
Okay, but thank you so much. Okay. I will comment, if you haven't already noticed, we're a little short-handed here tonight. We're missing Shauna. But we have Mary's here with us tonight, so she'll keep me in line, hopefully. Let's see. At this point, if there's anyone in the audience who would like to come forward and talk about any of the legislation that we have on the agenda for tonight, they are welcome to do so at this point. And that's not it, so you may, I'm looking for
The official
the
legal words.
official legal words. We don't want to get, you'll be kind to me, okay, Ted?
Here you go.
All right, we found him, thank you. Anyone wishing to speak before council with comments or new information about the legislation on tonight's agenda may do so at this time. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Speakers must state their name and address, and comments should be addressed to council. If you have comments that are not about the legislation on tonight's agenda, there will be an opportunity for those to be heard later in the meeting. I don't believe there's anyone who wishes to come down. Nope, don't see anyone. Okay. We will now move to ordinances in second reading, and there are none. And we will move to resolutions, and I'll call Mrs. Fisher to introduce the first one.
Well, Your Honor, I do have a resolution authorizing the city manager to apply for a Priority 1 grant from the Ohio Department of Public Safety, Division of EMS. It is requested by the fire department, and I move for approval.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Greason, would you like to explain?
Yes, Your Honor. The Kettering Fire Department utilizes a comprehensive records management system which meets state requirements for electronic EMS reporting, and as a result of doing that, that enables us to apply for this annual Priority 1 grant. And if awarded the grant, funds will be used to purchase emergency medical equipment. No matching funds are required by the city of Kettering, and if the chief has anything he'd like to add, I'd be glad to give him an opportunity to do so.
Chief?
No, ma'am. This is just part of the annual grant through the Ohio Department of Public Safety for electronically transmitting our patient care records that's required by law, and we get a small grant for training and EMS equipment by doing that transmission. Be happy to answer your questions.
Okay. Anyone got any questions? Okay, seeing none, call the roll.
Mr. Sullivan,
Yes.
Mrs. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Suddeth,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mayor Lehner.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to accept a donation of carbon monoxide detectors from firefighters and Company Federal Credit Union. The estimated cost is $750. The amount budgeted is $0, and this is requested by the fire department. I move for approval.
Second?
Mr. Greason?
Yes, Your Honor. The fire department will be accepting 50 carbon monoxide detectors from the Federal Credit Union, firefighters and Company Federal Credit Union, to provide to Kettering residents who are unable to afford to purchase one. The total value of the donation is $750. And Chief, could you talk about the instances in which, where we might distribute one of those?
Yes, if we recognize someone in need on non-emergency or emergency calls, we don't leave an incident without a working smoke detector or a working carbon monoxide detector in the house. So we carry this equipment on our apparatus, and if they're called to service, we will leave them in their house so they can have a properly safe working equipment for this type of detection. And then if someone wants to call our fire headquarters at 937-296-2489, if there is a need, we can also make a donation to them for their house as well.
Thank you so much. Anyone have any questions? Okay, call the roll.
Mrs. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Suddeth,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan,
Yes.
Mayor Lehner.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to apply for a safety intervention grant from the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation. This is being requested by the fire department. The estimated cost is $64,966, and the amount available is $25,000. I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Greason?
Yes, Your Honor. The Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation offers this program. It allows for equipment purchases that substantially reduce or eliminate injuries and illnesses associated with a particular task or operation. It's a 3-to-1 matching grant where the Bureau provides $3 for every $1 the employer contributes, and the maximum award is $40,000. If we're successful in obtaining these, the fire department will use funds to purchase 4 Stryker Expedition stair chairs at a total cost of $64,966. Total funds from City of Kettering will be $24,966. Chief, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, several years ago, we went to power cots to load patients in the back of the medics where our members don't have to manually pick up the cots to load the patients. Now we have new technology where we have stair chairs. So think of someone that lives on the second floor and they're injured and can't get down. We can place them in these chairs, and they have power tracks that go up and down stairs so our members don't physically have to carry them up and down the stairs. So with this new technology, we've budgeted for the money for the $25,000 for the fire department. We'll get the matching funds for BWC, and we'll get these put on our primary medics for moving the patients through stairwells.
Great. Anyone have any questions? Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Suddeth,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan,
Yes.
Mrs. Hall,
Yes.
Mayor Lehner.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to contract with American Fireworks Company for the fireworks show at the annual Go Forth event. Estimated cost is $45,000. That is the amount budgeted, requested by Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts. I say we go forth and move for approval.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Okay. Mr. Bergstresser?
Thank you, Your Honor. As mentioned, this will allow the city to contract with American Fireworks Company excuse me, for our annual fireworks show at the Go Forth event. We are recommending a sole source to American Fireworks. They have a long history of shooting off our fireworks show, and we have a great amount of familiarity with their procedures, and they have an excellent safety record. The proposed contract is for 1 year, and the city would have an option to renew for an additional 2 years. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Suddeth,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan,
Yes.
Mrs. Hall, Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mayor Lehner.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining
negotiated quotes to contract for the replacement of the existing audio system at the main pool and Adventure Reef Water Park. The estimated cost is $25,000. The amount budgeted is also $25,000. This is requested by the Public Service Department, and I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. This year's capital improvement budget includes $35,000 to replace the existing audio system for the main pool and water park. The existing unit is beyond its useful life, and the replacement unit will provide much higher quality and more consistent audio output. It will also involve replacing speakers that are no longer functional within these areas. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, call the roll.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Yes. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Suddeth?
Yes.
Mayor Lehner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to contract for the replacement of the existing air handling unit within Lincoln Park Civic Commons concession stand. The cost and budget are both $35,000. It is requested by Public Service Department, and I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. Similar to the previous resolution, we have the air handling unit that feeds the concession stand at Lincoln Park Civic Commons. It's beyond its useful life. So this replacement unit will provide better cooling and higher air quality for the phrase employees that work within the concession stand. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions? Okay, seeing none, call the roll.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Yes. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Suddeth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mayor Lehner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution approving the Montgomery County Countywide 911 System Final Plan as approved by the Montgomery County 911 Program Review Committee. This is requested by the City Manager's Office. I move for approval.
Mr. Greason.
Yes, Your Honor, Ohio Revised Code requires that the Countywide 911 Program Review Committee maintain and amend a final plan for implementing and operating the county 911 system through all the public safety answering points, including the city of Kettering's. They're required to submit that plan to the state of Ohio. That plan is effective if approved by the Board of County Commissioners and the legislative authorities of municipal corporations and townships that contain at least 60% of the county's population. And so that's why you were considering this tonight. The committee has unanimously approved the final plan for Montgomery County and has submitted it for approval to the Board of Commissioners as well as all of the municipalities and townships. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, seeing none, call the roll.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Suddeth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mayor Lehner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution to make supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Kettering, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024. This is being requested by the Finance Department. The estimated cost is $115,783.97. There is no amount budgeted for it. I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Greason.
Yes, Your Honor. Several supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures for this fiscal year. One was the fire department donation, supplemental appropriation of $750. That's appropriating the dollars you previously approved as accepting the donation from the Federal Credit Union. Additionally, in personal services, there's a supplemental appropriation of $106,500 that's requested for personnel and operating expenditures related to the terms that were approved in the February 29th agreement with AFSCME. If you recall, the original 2024 budget included 0% across the board for the affected employees in that area, and the agreement had different terms. I would note that increases that pertain to the vehicle maintenance fund, which are about $14,125, and the facilities maintenance fund, which is about $47,575, they are not appropriated as part of this because they're part of internal service funds. So they bill to departments for work completed. Also, CDBG, Community Development Block Grant Program Funds, there's a supplemental appropriation of $8,533.97 for the CDBG fund. That's related to the Neighborhood Stabilization Program and home revolving loan funds generated and funds generated from program income in 2023 of a little over $2,300 and a little over $6,000 respectively. So those now need, because that program income was obtained in 23, it now needs to be appropriated for use in those program areas in 2024. Be glad to answer any questions. That last bit was a little cumbersome. Be glad to provide any additional clarification that may be necessary.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, seeing none, call the roll.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Suddeth?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mayor Laner?
Yes. Okay. We have no ordinances in first reading tonight. I will call on Mrs. Asbel, if she has any certifications or petitions to present.
Your Honor, there are no certifications and petitions this evening.
Okay, thank you very much. Now turn to the manager's report and the community update.
Yes, Your Honor. We want to highlight that there are free blood pressure screenings every Wednesday in March and April, 9:30 to 11:30 at the Metro Library, the Kettering Moraine branch on Far Hills. It's in the back study room. We certainly want people to take advantage of that if they feel it's necessary. Applications are currently being accepted for the Kettering Leadership Academy, the class of 2024 and 2025. As I am experiencing now, this is a unique opportunity to learn about all the wonderful facets of the city of Kettering and experience, as the slide says, personal and professional growth. We'll be accepting applications until June 3rd, and if anyone needs additional information, they can call the number on the screen. Wanted to highlight that on March 26th, there will be no regularly scheduled city council meeting. It's being canceled due to a lack of pending legislation. The next regularly scheduled meeting will take place on April 9th, 2024, here in the council chambers at the Kettering Government Center. It's also important to note on March 26th, we will be, while the city council meeting will not be occurring, the regularly scheduled workshop meeting of the Kettering City Council will take place in the deeds room located on the lower level here at the Government Center. Periodically, we get questions about gas aggregation because we have an active electric aggregation program. Sometimes people ask about gas aggregation. And I think it's important to note that due to the volatility of gas prices, it was determined that gas aggregation would not have the predictable and same level of impact or reduction on monthly gas utilities. So Kettering and surrounding cities decided not to participate in a collective gas aggregation program. We do hope that everyone is feeling the positive results of our electric aggregation program. Perhaps one of you might want to take advantage of this. If you have experience directing a choral group, can play a keyboard, we would love to have you be a part of the fund that is the Kettering Senior Show Choir. We are looking for you, and that does not mean me, because I have none of those talents, but maybe one of you or somebody that is listening tonight can bring their talents to the Kettering Senior Show Choir. They are actively recruiting a director and accompanist. It's a lively group of senior adults ages 60 and over, and they meet one day a week to rehearse and perform several times a year throughout our community. You can see the responsibilities of the director on the screen, and if you're interested, please call the number that's available there. Like everyone, we are preparing for the total solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024 at 3:08 p.m. if you haven't been paying close attention. As you may know, a total solar eclipse occurs when the moon appears to totally obscure the sun. And the last one that occurred, total solar eclipse was visible in Ohio was in 1806. And the next one will be in 2099. So 3 years after we were founded as a state, and then in 2099. I expect I'll be retired by then. Anyway, we think it's important to provide you some information, and our staff created these safety tips and information that are going to be available on our website. There are some services that are impacted. Rumpke, if your day is on April 8th, Rumpke will start collecting trash and recycling as early as 4 a.m. For Monday customers, so that trash trucks could avoid the anticipated traffic from people coming in our community to watch the eclipse potentially. So please get your trash out if you're an April 8th pickup the night before. Due to anticipated congestion, the Kettering Recreation Complex and the Kettering Fitness and Wellness Center will close at 11 a.m. The Kettering Municipal Court will close at noon. And Poland Farm Habitat Environmental Center, Rosewood Arts Center, Fray's Fanfare, and the Yard Debris Center will be closed that day. We have a number of recommendations. We want people to consider making their grocery purchase a little bit early. Stock up on food, water, and gas so that you're not trying to get out that day to get those things. Also your prescriptions. Certainly find a safe viewing area. We would encourage people to limit their travel to essential purposes, as traffic may be heavy in our community. Use our cell phones sparingly, and certainly call 911 for emergencies only to help keep available lines open. Safety is the #1 priority during events like this, so when viewing a total solar eclipse, be sure to wear specialized eye protection. And please know that we will not be hosting events related to the solar eclipse that day. Traffic could be heavy, especially near parks, which are obviously optimal viewing areas. They may be crowded with viewers. So we encourage people to watch it safely from their yards or place of business or wherever they can. Questions that you may have?
Anyone have any questions? Okay. Be careful.
Yes.
Your eyes will burn, or something like that.
There will be free rides on Election Day, March 19th, if you haven't heard. Greater Dayton RTA is giving free rides system-wide to ensure access for everyone who chooses to exercise their right to vote. We certainly encourage them to do so. We also have our micro-enterprise program for the spring of 2024, which we've been highlighting at each meeting. These are for businesses operating 2 or more years. If you're interested in that, that starts in April. Please contact the number on the screen. And lastly, I think we're 5 weeks out. Monday, April 15th is the due date for your City of Kettering income tax return. Our outstanding income tax staff is available to assist residents. We encourage people to take care of that. They can contact the tax division at the number on the screen or come to the north building here at 3600 Troyer Road. Our team would be glad to assist you.
That's it?
Yes.
Anyone have any questions? Mr. Greason? Okay, hearing none. At this point, If you would like to come speak before City Council, please come down to the podium. Each speaker will have a 5-minute limit. Speakers are asked to state their name and address. Is there anyone who would like to speak before City Council? Nope. Okay. We'll move on to City Council reports. I'd like to start with Mrs. Fisher.
Well, Your Honor, I attended the Green Oak Preschool Open House. They've been open for 66 years, and what a great time. Kids running around there, learning where their classrooms potentially would be. What a fantastic event. Taxes. So I just did mine on Monday, and I will tell you, I was with a stopwatch. Walked in the door, hit it, went, got the taxes, walked out. It was less than 5 minutes. Less than 5 minutes. That is unbelievable. So we do have exceptional staff, and they are very good at what they do. And the good news is I owe nothing. And so that's the good news. I also, ma'am, have a report from Ms. Duvall, who is not here, and she asked if I would read this. So Mr. Sudeth introduced all of us to the final salute organization at the last council meeting, and I had the honor of attending the service for Captain Leora V. Gray. It was a beautiful and meaningful final send-off for this Vietnam-era vet. Both of my grandparents were, and my father is a veteran, and this felt like a way to honor them and every other service member in a small way. So thank you, Mr. Sudeth, for bringing awareness to this group. I encourage everyone to look up the final salute and become a part of it. And that would be Ms. Duvall's report.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
For both of you. Mr. Sullivan.
Yeah, I was just going to report on, I have the opportunity, I'm the liaison for the Sustainability Committee, and we had interviews on March 5th and 6th, and it was the residents that we interviewed were amazing, like so knowledgeable, so passionate about sustainability. They know a lot more than I do about it. So it's just cool that those people, getting to meet them and that they want to volunteer their time and serve like what they know, offer what they know. So that was exciting. And then I'll be coaching my daughter's 7th grade soccer team at the rec this year against Coach of the Year, Dan.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be looking out for him. But that's it for me.
Have heart, Sean. Have heart, Shane.
Thanks. Jill?
I want to mention an event that I went to this weekend that touches Kettering and the surrounding area that's called SOAP. And it's about preparing for the first four with March Madness here in Dayton. Is a amazingly high time for human trafficking. And it turns out that Ohio is 5th in the nation for reported incidents of human trafficking, and our region is among the top of those in the nation. There's a lot of ways to be on the lookout for this type of behavior during March Madness, and SOAP Online goes into it. I also had the opportunity to talk with a leader with that organization, leads Abolition Ohio and the Ohio Task Force on Human Trafficking, and there's no legislation that exists in the state of Ohio that would prevent victims of trafficking from being prosecuted as well. So some of you may know that I'm running for Ohio State Senate. Win or lose, I'm going to continue to advocate for that legislation, as well as some things that we can do here locally in the city of Kettering. Speaking of my state Senate campaign, I just want to thank the council for permitting me having a lot of time constraints during this period. I want to thank my family and my husband and my kids. And the election is in 1 week. I hope everyone listening exercises their right to vote in this upcoming election. You may vote for me, you may not support me. Either way is fine, and just grateful to be of service to the community so far.
Thank you very much. Mr. Scott?
No comments this week, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Sutter?
This week is actually National Sunshine Week, a week dedicated to, I know this is very obscure, but two friends wrote opinion pieces in the Dayton Daily this week. My friend Julio Mateo and Claudine Bennett both had pieces in the Dayton Daily talking about the importance of open, accessible government. And I would just draw everyone's attention to the importance of that. It's celebrated this week. I didn't know this until I read Julio's piece and talked to him about it a couple weeks ago. Coincides with James Madison's birthday, which is something that doesn't get enough recognition. So happy birthday to James Madison later this week. as that birth date draws attention to the importance of open and transparent government and the benefits it offers to our citizens when our governments are both open and transparent in our dealings. On that, last week, I met with a group of citizens here, again, as a follow-up to a meeting a few weeks ago, and I was so impressed both by the amount of staff that were here, Mr. Robillard and Ryan and Patrick, the architect, all to come to answer questions of a small group of citizens and to come to a resolution of just a long, months-long work to solve some problems and get information out to folks. And just so thankful for the staff that took the time to come out on an extra night last week to sit down in this room with a few citizens to talk about the process of keeping our citizens and residents and friends safe in our community.
Thank you very much. Okay, I guess that's to me. Not a great deal to report that they haven't covered. I did have the pleasure of throwing out the first puck at the Reynolds and Reynolds hockey game on Thursday. I had to leave before it ended. Does anyone know how it ended? Was it service or sales?
Reynolds won.
This is a fun event. It's held at our ice rink, and it's two groups within Reynolds and Reynolds, which is one of our largest employers. And I think they can find a ringer to play hockey, because I don't think there's players that good sitting around at Reynolds. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. Now I'll have to find someone to tell me who won the game. I should not be reporting on the following thing because it has nothing to do with Kettering per se, but I did have an opportunity today to visit the new Greater Dayton school. And this is a school that was, Larry Connor, who went to the bottom of the ocean and up to space, a local philanthropist here in town, built this school, and he is committed to funding every child in the school to the fullest extent needed. And you've probably seen the building. It's downtown, right in the middle of the fountains. Very, very contemporary building. Absolutely a jewel. There is not a school like this anywhere in the country, I can guarantee you that. So you might notice it when you drive by sometime. It's very close to the stadium, but it's for underprivileged kids. It's going to do some pretty awesome things for the entire community down the road. I would like to also mention that a number of us took a ride around the city of Kettering on Route 28, which is the new RTA route, which kind of goes east-west. Before, we've always had service north and south. If you wanted to go somewhere in Kettering, you had to basically go downtown, catch another bus, come back, and end up at your route. Well, this one is just a big loop. It goes in front of Kettering Hospital, and then down Stroop, up to the Green, down Dorothy Lane. Pretty convenient for most spots. If we don't use it, I don't think RTA will have any good reason to keep it. So please, try it out. It's kind of fun. Take your kids, they enjoy it. And we've got to build up the route use for this service. That's all I have for this evening. Being no further business to come before City Council, our next regularly scheduled City Council meeting will be April 10th, 2024, and this meeting is adjourned.